Hello everyone. It's Cheryl Millett live at 5. I can see the video is starting. Not sure if it started, but here we go. There we go. Ah, it's already been on a few minutes. Welcome to Live at 5, all things healthy, and let's get started. So let's talk about the brain. And this is nothing new, but the idea is the brain is one of those things that uses up 40% of the nutrients coming into the body. Now, nutrients is typically food, but I want to include water and I want to include oxygen or whatever the good stuff in air is. I mean, these are all labels at the end of the day. But the brain is, in its position it is, and covered by a wonderful, beautiful, hard bone, the skull, is there to protect it. And it's like the control tower in your body. It's at the top of your body. And flowing out of the brain is many different nerves, still part of the neural system. But again, I do not know what this frame rate is. So the idea is the brain is very important. Now, I collected some black walnuts the other day, and the black walnut is a bit different than the walnuts that we're typically used to consuming. And if you think of the walnut that you're used to consuming, it actually looks like a brain, right? It looks like a brain, the walnut, not the black walnut. The black walnut looks different. I want to actually show what it looks like, but yet it has a similar message in a sense. So let me show you what the half of shells. So I wash them up, and actually, just kind of FYI, the black walnut, calling it black walnut, it's not black inside. The shell's not black. The shell's brown, but definitely different. There's many different types of walnuts. I've eaten them because there's certain trees for origins different. It's like the thing that I've talked about at the grocery stores. They chose one for the reason they did, the walnut. But this particular one, I'm going to show you what it looks like, half of it. Half of it. Doesn't it look like a owl, a wise owl? Now, when we think of wisdom, we think of the mind, the brain, our head, is our head on straight, and wisdom is very much in that line. All the wisdom and all the different areas of living in life, which is one of the reasons why I'm going to read out something from the Anastasia the Ringing Cedars book, and decided probably starting in March, going to reread with a group, whoever that group may be, the Anastasia series, 9 books. We're just finished book 7, but a lot of wisdom in the Anastasia series. It actually, if I could just say it simply, it talks about our pristine origins. Now, how many people have wondered, where did we come from? Who was our ancestors exactly? Like, what was it? Like, we have been told different things, high story I'll call it, and we're still not quite sure, but these books go through it. They go through they call it in the book Anastasia, pristine origins, and then it actually goes through why we are where we are today. It talks a little bit about the purpose of the Bible. It talks a little bit about why we have even democracy, or how democracy even started. I mean, you can see the downfalls or the pitfalls of democracy as we know it. I mean, all the various things, the dark side of capitalism, the dark side of people, we can see that. And the wisdom that each and every one of us has. They call it the intuition. Some will call it the higher self. And there's this wisdom that kind of comes in. And I remember, as I was working with the omega-3s that I do, ask the question, is this helping people, I'll say spiritually, for a better word? And within, I get my answer in threes usually, and I had 3 people ask me independently, different times, within 10 days, Cheryl, I feel this has awakened. Now, we're talking 12 years ago, but this has helped me with my meditation practice, it seems to help with my intuition. It was 3 different kind of scenarios, but questioning, is this helping them with their growth, their spiritual growth, and so forth? All different languages. But that was validation for me to understand that omega food, even if they come from walnuts, walnuts has got a great source of omega. It is plant, so if you have something going on with your digestive system, it is and will be, not just for omegas but other things. It will hinder the digestive process. The stress, the poor eating, the condition that the digestive system is in due to stress, and the type of foods that you eat, and your eating habits, and other life habits as well. But I wanted to show you the black walnut. So omega, that's what we can think about. Black walnuts is good. So a healthy oil. Now the thing I also mention about in my research for my book, All Guts, All Glory, because the whole chapter on healthy fats, is that the walnut oil, there's various different oils on the shelf for sure, and walnut oil is one of them, but it does not have the same shelf life as the other oils, be it avocado. I'm trying to think of some other nut oils, not peanut oil, that's a little bit different. They have different profiles, but reason why it has it has omega-3s, and omega-3s have an affinity for oxygen, so it oxidizes. But in our cells, in our body, oxidizing and oxygenating our cells is a good thing. But in this environment of just being exposed to air and so light and all those things, it's as I've talked about, a new way of looking at the causes of disease, a different germ theory. The microbes are ready to decompose, and because of the affinity for oxygen in the omegas. Now, this Wednesday I'm doing a presentation. I've been having it on a monthly basis anyway, but we have a group coming, and it is live, as in person here in Toronto in my health studio, and I'll post it up. I did leave it there. I was kind of inquiring whether or not I should do it with Zoom, but people actually wanted to come, so I said, but let's do it in person. It's been a long time since I've done a presentation in person, so this is going to be great. But I wanted to bring up and show you just what the black walnut was about, what it looked like, and the fact that I could see, we can see things in nature. This is wisdom. So walnuts are for our wisdom, for our brain. And so this is what it looks like. It's very, very rough, as you can see. It's a hard nut to crack. It's a screwdriver in hand and a hammer, and that's what it takes to break this open. And what I also experience, because I'm doing a lot of experiencing with foraging, harvesting, but what do you do with these foods? And so I've been making crabapple jelly because my father has a crabapple tree. Yes, applesauce, which I've made before, but because of the dehydrator. So I've been making a lot of things. Pesto, but pesto with sunflower seeds, not with the expensive pine nuts, although I really like them too. And then trying combination. So a good friend Nellie has brought up a variety of different things in our conversations, and I've done my research. So it's been a lot of fun. So I just want to kind of put it out there. Omegas, black walnut, talk to that. Also want to show you, in line with black, as in black walnuts, I discovered when I went foraging for and picking apples in the wild apple trees on the old train trail, is that there was a tree and it had this apple that I don't remember ever seeing before, but look how dark it is. It's and when I did some research on it, or even posted a picture of it, somebody said, "Oh, that's a black apple." Now it's not entirely black, but you can see just how dark it is compared to this apple. This apple is from my father's tree, which in some ways he renewed the tree, because about, I think he said several years ago, 5 years ago, a handful of years ago, he actually cut it down to about 4 or 5 feet. And after these 4 or 5 years, it grew back, and the apples are humongous. So this is probably a medium-sized apple, but next to this is a gigantic apple. Somebody who was here last night thought it was a wooden apple. It was so perfect on that side. It has a couple of bumps here, but I've been looking at the apples, and the apples are they come in such variety, and it makes me think of humans. It makes me think of man. It makes me think of you and I and all the differences and variations that come in just within the food apple. And I was looking, I could not find, two apples that look alike, which makes sense. And we cannot find two leaves on the same tree that look alike. If you look at the veins, if you look at the shape, if you look at the position. So that tells us, nature tells us that we are all unique from a physical, definitely from a physical standpoint. And that is important. I mean, you hear conversations about we are one, we are one, we are one. But it is also to welcome and to appreciate the uniqueness, because there is a uniqueness, not only maybe your purpose here, but also just from a simple physical characteristic, personality, all of that too, that kind of comes forth. So I wanted to bring in that. I did make the turkey tail tea. I just really have to learn how I can brew it the best way. Just sitting the turkey tail, which looks like a turkey tail. I kept a couple of pieces demonstrating it, but white ridge, but you can't see it. A lot of striation of color, but it fans out just like a turkey tail, and it's supposed to be really good for the immune system. But you're going to hear, again, you're going to hear me repeat this. A lot of the foods, it's just, marketing. This eggs got omega in it. These eggs don't have the label got omegas in it, but they all have omegas in it. It is plant omegas. And on Wednesday night, what I do in the healthy fats presentation and omegas is talk to the different ones and what the differences are. And the thing about certain things being for certain things, like the immune system, especially the immune system, is they can act differently still. They can act differently. This will work on this part of the immune system, or this actually does this, so it's less stress on the immune system. So there's all these kind of variations of certain foods, and that no matter where you live, unless you live in a concrete and you have no access to any plants and no ravines, or there's nothing growing, that doesn't exist, then you have the wild foods. Like, you really do have nature that shows us all kinds of things. And I think we have all the foods we need to support our nervous system, our immune system, to eat well, to give us the nutrients right in our local, wherever you are, if you're in the north, if you're in the south. And it seems like to me, in my observing and my research, that people who live in the south have a diet more richer in vegetables and fruits, because it gives them all the antioxidants, maybe from all the sunshine, maybe all of that, and the way the oils are come together there. They're more plant-based oils. We're in the north, the mammalian seems to be stronger and seems to be more available and easier to access and have more of that. So there may be something to, I remember it was Somalians that came here. It was found that there was a 10%, so when the child was born here from a Somalian immigrant, it's a study, that they were 10% of the children born were autistic. And you get you thinking about, if all the various people in the world, as they do, they change their locations, they change their, and in the case they change their latitude. And this will make a difference to how the body would now be eating, perhaps. And there's a lot of people have told me this over the years. They come from Europe, they come to America, and there's more processed food here. There was more genetically modified, not that all genetically modified could be put in the same bucket, but there was more of that. And so eating bread or eating dairy or milk or anything like that actually caused them digestive stress. But when they went back home and ate the same foods, they didn't have it. So there is absolutely different ways to look at things to better understand how, where we get to with our health, right? So there's not as much vitamin D here as there is for Somalians back home. They would probably have been outside more. They probably would have been in the sunshine more. And this impacts the health of the mother who's giving birth to children. And maybe, just maybe, the injections weren't the same back home as well. So not to just pinpoint it on any one thing, but actually it needs to be looked at, So I wanted to bring up black walnuts, and then I'm going to read a phrase that came from some wisdom. So you can see black walnut looks like an owl, back to the wisdom. And this was something that a priest had written on the wall millennia ago, and they've been trying to figure it out. And shortly after that, the priest passed, and he didn't get to clarify what it is that he said. But I'm going to give some of the clarification because I've read the book. I've read the book a couple times, but recently this was the book from the book club. And here's the phrase, and I'll put it down in the comments below, and you can sit with it. You can sit with it. Maybe I won't talk about the meaning of it this week, but I'll talk about it next week. So it'll give you time to actually think about this phrase for yourself. Think for yourself as we're trying to welcome for all ages, right? Here's the phrase. One should eat just as one breathes. One should eat just as one breathes. I'm going to leave that with you. So we have that, and it does get me to what I was going to talk about is like in the news or just things to talk about is the perfection. Now, it has come to me by other people. They have noticed that in stores, be it health stores or local grocery stores, they have the imperfect bin or section. I haven't seen it yet. It was in Loblaws yesterday, but I didn't look for it, but if it was there or not. But imperfect, what's imperfect? I want to actually kind of clarify that what I said earlier about the variations and the uniqueness. I'm just going to say that imperfect is probably the incorrect word to use. I know they have to come up with something, and it's about acceptance of things that are not what we've tried to create, as in the word perfection, and perfection as it is in all the areas of our life. So it's not imperfect. It is the one that maybe knocked against a branch and has a little dent, or it didn't shape properly in its own unique self. It wasn't round like the other ones for whatever reason. It was growing up against a branch or a leaf or something. A bug crawled across it. Who knows? But it is unique. So these are unique foods. They do not look like each other. We think of the ones that we're typically used to buying. So these are unique. So I just wanted to put that out there and kind of come circle, around, not necessarily full circle, but come around to it again and talk about the uniqueness. So all these variations, just think about it. All the variations, and we get so hung up on things not looking the way they should. And what's should? It's a way of saying it should look like this, but then that looks like that, and it also looks like this, and they all look the same. So it's not about that. And I can dive in a little bit deeper, and you may have the same route to go to work. You may have the same desk that you're sitting at, the same car that you own, the same house and all that. But there is a way in self-mastery or in mastering or a different perspective and an understanding that you can still look at it all differently. You can look at it in a unique way and differently. And that is some homework for you if you want to just even contemplate that. But it is a way to bring variation into your day moments, even though you may say you do the same thing every day. take it into reading books. You probably have heard somebody say, I've read this book, and read it several years later and get something different from the book. It's the exact same book. It's the exact same words. It's the exact same actual physical book that somebody read again. Nothing has changed, but everything has changed in some ways, or partial changes, but you get what I mean. So there's all of that. So I wanted to talk about that, and then I want to get into the news and kind of, again, tie it into life as well. And this was a particular, I'm not sure if I have the right page here. Yes. So this particular story here, and this is not the only one that has come up over the last 18 months or however long this event has been happening. And this is a scenario where this is Edmonton News, CTV News. I'll put the post up. Hinshaw, I believe she's the health person, apologizes after Alberta mistakenly reports. Now, I'm not sure mistakenly is, you probably take that out. I'm going to take that out. Henshaw acknowledges, not even apologizes. Sometimes they just, they say apologizes, but let's say Henshaw acknowledges after Alberta reports 14-year-old's cancer death was caused by COVID-19. Now, earlier on, if you wanted to actually understand what at the press conferences themselves they said, nobody was allowed, this was initially, nobody was allowed in the hospitals unless they actually had CV. They weren't allowed. So everybody, and this is even before they were testing, they just had to go by the symptoms, was put down as dying from CV. So even though they didn't, and of course they weren't really acknowledging autopsies because they thought, oh, this is a deadly thing, which turns out it's not, but everything can be deadly. Going in your car can be deadly. Going down the stairs can be deadly. So many things are deadly. So it's nitpicking to kind of, for me, it's difficult to kind of put in a whole hour here the explanation about certain things. So hopefully you get the gist there. But this particular thing, this boy had cancer and had been diagnosed, and it had been 9 months later. It was a tumor. It was in the brain. And again, talking about the brain and brain health and why does that happen. There's things past the blood-brain barrier that are not supposed to, including what are actually in the vaxes. They actually pass the blood-brain barrier, like aluminum, and you got to question, how is it that we have so much more dementia and Alzheimer's? Not just brain tumors, but other things. How is it that we have all of these things? I mean, I'm just talking about the vaxes as one thing that actually has some of this stuff in it, but our water has certain chemicals in it as well, and other things. Everybody's going to have a unique scenario, so wherever their stress or toxins come from is going to be there. So, good on the parents, the family, to speak up and speak up at such a loud, so loud that this person, Hinshaw, actually has to acknowledge it. And that is the crux of it, how many people are not speaking up when it happens. Maybe they know or they don't know. Maybe they didn't even pay attention. I heard one time a story, I know it was last year, where a young girl fell off a horse and died. And because they tested her and she actually tested positive, which could be a false positive, they exist. They said at the press conferences numerous times, it is not an accurate test. They don't have the actual isolated virus, so how would they be able to pinpoint that you have it in a goop of material? So this has all been expressed, but not for some reason on mainstream media. But this is mainstream media, and they were definitely held accountable, and yeah, and there you go. So the idea is you can test with this test all you want. If they went in with something else, then that should be acknowledged. It shouldn't always be, oh, this is this and this is. So how many other ones, they've done a test, they're in the hospital, And that's not the best place to be. If you can avoid the hospital, avoid the hospital. For all the reasons. So I apologize for this. Yeah, it's easy to apologize in some ways, but what would be better is to understand, why did it happen in the first place? Like, how are they getting this stuff mixed up? What kind of, even to today, and all of this time, what kind of measurements or what kind of protocols or what kind of checklist do they have so this doesn't happen? It's happened, it's been happening, it's been told it's happening, and yet they don't have anything in place. Now, maybe this is just the people thinking, oh, I hear that a lot of people don't want to get their injection, so I'm going to make it out scarier. I'm going to make it so that we can just use this. Call it a fib, right? A fib. So people are quite often are the ones that are actually stretching things for the reasons they do. They have a reason to do. I'm going to show them, look, this child would pop, but not even look at the real reason. And that's what can happen. It's no different than there are certain mandates put into place, I guess you could say, or by laws. And some of this stuff here has been taken to another level, which is various homes or parties saying, well, I'm sorry, you can't come if you don't have your da-da-da. And it's crazy. It's crazy how people are just taking it upon themselves to do it. I'm just going to be like the big corporations. I'm just going to say they can't. Now, they can't come unless they have been. And, I'm going to stand at the door and I'm going to ask them to show me their whatever proof of injection. So this is the thing that, is going to happen. But I do hear that, as much as this is happening, just acknowledge that it's happening. That's what's being caused by the various communication over time. But there I am hearing wonderful things about social connecting if people have not had the injection, and playing games and just and it's wonderful. It's wonderful to hear, and it's wonderful to hear that when they come away from it, they actually feel revitalized or energized and probably human in some ways, depending on. But it's important that we do raise our vibration any which way we can, no matter where the choices are, because individuals have their choices. We have to give that to everybody. It's not for any of us to tell other people what to do. So the thing I've been working on and getting feedback and is what to do, prevention in getting sick, I'm going to say, but you could really expand it to getting disease. So the idea would be, I'm putting something together, and this is, generally speaking, it's going to be kind of life. It's for everybody. It's, the cold, the flu, if you need to support your system, and these are several ways or a dozen ways to do it. It's not just supplements, and absolutely in nature, to talk about these things. And people are talking about this. I think his name is Dr. Artis. Is it Dr. Artis? Yeah, and others have. I'm sure of it. I'm sure he's not the only one. But the idea is, you can, a number of the drugs, and this has been a thing or known, have come from duplicating nature. Right? So they make it a little different. They call it all the different names they do, but it was inspired by nature and what nature has done for man in the healing. And so we do have things in nature before us that is that ivermectin came from, and that HQ came from. It's probably a better name to do it. And so these things exist in nature, and that's probably a question to start. And many other supplements too, and vitamin D, vitamin C. You can get a certain amount of that in there. But as I've said before, there are things you can do so that you don't need as much, and there's not a one size fits all. However, there is usually recommended doses of things or quality supplements of things, and so it can be, it can be used that way. But definitely, you've heard different things like quercetin behind the HQ, and chloroquine, I'll call it for short, and mectin, that's wormwood that way. And think about the other powerful things that are known in nature. Here in Canada, where you are, if you're not in Canada or in the same place as Canada, there's going to be other things. Chaga tea is here. It's a very, very strong, very powerful, highly allowing the body to adapt to the things that comes at it, stress adaptation. So adapting stress, that means your whole body gets affected by the stress. So chaga tea, and then learning about the turkey tail mushroom as well. Chaga is also a mushroom as well, very different looking, but the same. And yeah, certain things, definitely healthy oils. I made ghee last night, which I haven't done in a very, 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 very long time, but I was inspired to do it. And boy, is it ever clean tasting versus just butter. And it has better temperature control. But I'd rather people learn about low cook, no cook, slow cook, that kind of thing, where you're not browning your fats anyway. You're not frying anymore. You're not doing any high heat as much. Yeah, so there's a lot to unpack when it comes to health and your unique reasons why you come to being dis-ease, not in ease, and how the body manifests the health conditions. But there surely is a number of health conditions or labels, they've put it in medical labels, that has repeated itself, although you can see the variations in any of it, cancer being one of it, and any of the mental illnesses as well. The mental illnesses, all the various names, the DSM book, that's big, and how things come about with that. But it is understood why we are getting these things. And that's why I wrote the book, All Guts, All Glory, so you can understand why we are getting disease. What are the root causes? Yes, you'll have to explore your unique reasons for that, for imbalanced or stress, all of that. But there's a much in there, tips and stuff. So I wanted to come on and absolutely tell you I was working on it. It'll be in a blog form, and it will be, who knows, I'm just thinking out loud. It'll probably be in certain sections, so you can dive into a certain section, the reason why that is. But to keep it simple, to keep it very, very, very simple, I think is very important. And then I just want to put a shout out to IAWESOME, International Academy of Universal Self-Mastery, for coming on board, and they're just, their website, they're simplifying. And but that was a journey and a half. So there's a lot of faculty member coming on board teaching a variety of topics. Everybody's like building their courses, but it also is a social media platform as well. So there'll be groups, sometimes paid groups depending on the information being shared. There will be an activity where posts will be, and everybody can interact and connect, and it's in a very, very safe space, which is important if we're talking about people growing and learning IAWESOME. So I'll be posting some things about IAWESOME so you can learn more about it. I think that is good. And so I just want to go into the pun joke segment of Live at 5. And yeah, I like the show and tell. I'm going to show you something here. This is crab apple jelly, and very tasty. But I have to say, it's so true. The amount of sugar that goes into these fruits. But last night when I was making the juice, I got to have a couple of glasses of juice, which meant I think it was like 11 o'clock I finished up or later at that time, I meant I had to get up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom because I usually stop drinking fluids and sipping water after dinner. So I have an amazing sleep. But let's see what the comments are. Yes, I'm breaking up a lot. Hello, Angel. Your live video interrupted. The broadcast has been paused. This is a message I get. Really? Okay. I'm definitely still ongoing, and what will happen is it'll be fine. Yeah, no bother, Angel. I know you're probably on there. I'm probably going to take this to YouTube. I am probably going to. I think this whole thing too low. I tried to understand the technical part of it here, and this is my camera. You know, this is my camera, and anywhere I go in here, a video resolution, everything is fine. It says current frame rate too low. Please set the frame rate to 15 to 60. I don't even know where they have the frame rate in here, to tell you the truth. I went looking for it, but couldn't find it anywhere. Graphics are not supported using camera. Yeah, crazy. So let's go into some jokes, and at times this video will be fine, and you can actually watch it after the fact. So, and you're probably watching it after the fact. So apologize, but yeah, I'm going to move to another venue, whether it's YouTube or whether it's a different one. I'm going to try that, because there's no reason why this should be doing what it is. Of course there's a reason. So let's read a couple of jokes here. This is there a doctor in the house? This is the joke pun book that's over 50 years old. Question: what is the difference between a hill and a pill? Answer: the hill is hard to get up. A pill is hard to get down. So let's go to Fred and Ed. Fred, he's an MD. Ed, a doctor. Fred, no, mentally deficient. Jill and Gil. Gil, what time do most people go to the dentist? Jill, I don't know. What time? Jill, at 2:30. 2:30. Let's hear. Doctor, the check you gave me last month came back. Patient, and so did the pain. Yeah, you wonder sometimes, you know, people are paying for things when they're not actually getting the results that they need. So I'm going to wrap up today's live at 5, and I will keep you posted on where the live is going to be, and then I can put links in here. The only thing about putting links in here is they don't share it, so you're just going to have to look it up. I guess that's how it works. But anyway, we'll check on that, and we'll let you know. So take care, everyone. Have a wonderful week, a great evening, and any questions, post them below. I'll post the links below, but also put this on YouTube and Rumble as well. Those are the 2 websites that I'm going to be putting on, and I might be putting it on a 3rd one because I've just signed up to a different social media platform where one does not get censored. So I'm grateful for you listening. I'm grateful for anything that helps you with your life, with your living, with being at peace. And we will see you again live at 5 Monday next week. Bye for now.